Are you trading on a prop firm and struggling to get a payout? Or maybe your wins don't feel like they're big enough, and then you increase your risk and your position size to try to catch a bigger win, and you just end up blowing your account? Well, I've done some thinking, and I feel like maybe you're not treating trading like a business. So today I'm going to introduce a method that I call horizontal scaling. And I named it this, but you might already know this method. But it involves increasing your reward and keeping your risk the same. And I'm gonna show you how to do this. Let's get into this video. So if you're gonna treat trading like a business, you have to put a system in place. Without a system, don't expect positive results if you don't have a system in place. I'm just telling you the truth. Don't expect to succeed without having a system for success in place, right? So let's go over this. So we're going to title this your trading system, right? So your trading system, it must consist of wins, right? So your system consists of wins, losses, right? So you need to know, when I'm winning, how much am I winning? Or am I just hopping in the trade and then just drawing my TP to 1,000, right? That doesn't make sense. Like, you need to know your average win. What is my average win? What am I consistently doing every single day? You need to figure this out. I'm going to give you this based on what I'm doing, and I would only hope that you would take this and use this for yourself. Same thing with your losses. Like, you need to have a system in place on how to manage your losses. It's like budgeting. You get what I'm saying? Like, if I got $100 check coming in every day, guess what? I'm making $700 a week. But if I'm spending 500 and I'm only left with 2, I have a bad budgeting system in place. It's the same thing with trading. If I'm winning $100 per trade, but my losses are $200, that's a bad system to have in place. So you need to have a system for your losses, just like you have a system for your wins, right? So a system for your wins, a system for your losses, and then you need to have a growth system or a scaling plan, right? So you need to have a growth system. And what that means is, if I'm treating this like a business, how do I take my business from doing $100 a month to $200 a month? And then from $200 a month to $400 a month, right? You need that. And this is just like $100 a month is crazy. Like, that's not a lot. But what I'm saying is, you need to have a system for that, right? And I'm going to give you that today. So let's move this over here. And let's compare. No, we'll link like that. That's fine. All right. So let's start with the wins, right? What does a winning day look like for your business? I'm going to tell you what a winning day looks like for my business. Just like this. Right? So for my business, a winning day looks like $200. That's just what it is for my business. That's where I'm at as a trader. You may not be in the same place that I am as a trader, but I know if I'm consistently catching a 1 to 5, I'm making about $200. And I know 1 to 5 every day sounds crazy, but when you're risking less than a pip or point stop loss, you're going to get those higher risk to rewards. right? So in my business, $200, right, per day is what a winning day looks like. Now, also for my business, I factor in my losing days. So what does my losing days look like, right? So my loss is what, ask yourself what your loss is. If I'm making $200 a day, what am I willing to risk? And it doesn't make sense to risk 200 when you're making 200, right? So my rule of thumb is, because my win rate is so high, a 1-to-1, which is I'm looking to make 2. Sometimes I make 250, sometimes I make 3, sometimes I make 4. And I'm risking, I have a $200 box. And let me show you what that box looks like. So, right? So if I'm in a trade, this whole box right here is $200. Each point, so each line like this, look at that as a point in the market. So because of how my strategy works, if the market's pushing in a direction that is not my favor, if I decide to take it by here, typically when I get in, the market's going in my favor. And if the market says, hey, we don't want to go up right now, and they come back down, when they hit this area at this line, for me, that's about $60, $68, right? So I know to close this position because of what? The way my strategy works, if it's going against me and I'm already negative 60, it's a high chance that this trade is going to lose, right? So my loss is, the loss that I take is 68, but I give myself $200 for the day to lose. Now, if I'm in negative 68, I'm leaving the charts. I'm coming back. I say, hey, if I do want to take another setup, it has to be clean and it got to make sense. And if I do take that setup, then more than likely, if it's a win, I'm going to recover this and still make my 200 a day. So my losing day looks like minus $68. And if this next trade loses, I'm going to only allow $150 to get hit, right? So if I take another setup, I'm only allowing myself to risk about 75 bucks. So what this looks like is, if I lose 68 and I see something else clean, I'm like, you know what? Let me take it to potentially be green for today. I'm only going to risk about $75, right? So this turns my total loss into $153, just like that. So because of how my strategy works, it's a high chance that the second trade that I'm going to take is actually going to win. It's a high chance, is what I'm saying. It's just my strategy. So that's what my losing day looks like. My winning day, 200 plus, just like that. I'm typically looking for an area to fill in the market, but minimum, I need $200 a day. So if it pulls up and it's at 400, most likely I'm going to close the trade. If it pulls up and it's at 800, most likely I'm going to close the trade. If it pulls up and it's at 250, I'm going to close the trade, down or up. What I'm saying is, based on my strategy, I'm filling areas in the market. So when the market's ready to go fill that area in, I'm going to go with the banks, and I'm going to make sure that when that area gets filled in, I'm at least making my $200 for the day. Right? So that's what my wins look like. That's what my losses look like. I have to have a system for my wins and for my losses. Because why? If I only have a system for my wins, it doesn't matter how much wins that I take, I will always lose it all immediately right after that. Right? So let's move this over here. Now, you need a growth strategy. And on the prop firm accounts, this is what your growth strategy should look like. And it's been working for me. So what you want to do is you want to take this system right here, right? This system, this whole system, you want to take that system and you want to implement it. You need to implement it for 2 weeks to prove that it works. So 2 weeks. So for 2 weeks, you need to make 200 per day minimum, right? You need to make 200 per day. And if you lose, you need to lose no more than $150. Right? Now, check this out. If your strategy does work and you can't achieve this, your strategy is garbage, or it's just you. It's just one of those two. But when you get those two together, you'll be able to fully implement this. I'm gonna just keep it a buck with you, right? So you need to do that for 2 weeks on your first prop firm account. Once you've done that successfully for 2 weeks, take a payout, right? So after your 2 weeks, withdraw half of the money that you've made, because like, if you're treating this like a business, you need to reinvest into your business. But you can't reinvest without having something that's working first, right? So after your 2 weeks, get a payout. And then guess what? Once you take the payout, reinvest into what? You already got one account? Do it twice now. And pay for 2 more challenges, pass them, fund those accounts, and then now copy trade this same system across 3 accounts. So once you get that payout, you gotta reinvest into 2 accounts, 2 more accounts. So now what's working at $200 a day, instead of upping your position size, all you're doing is you're duplicating what works. This is what businesses do. When I had my marketing company and I was running ads online, a campaign would perform great at $5 a day. But once I got 10 sales in that same day, I try to up my position size. I try to up my budget for that campaign, and what worked at $5 a day did not work at $100 per day. You get what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with trading. Find what works and then replicate that. So if your system is working at 200 per day, and now you have 3 accounts, instead of you now upping your contracts times 3, you're keeping your risk the same, but your reward is greater now, right? So now you're making $600 per what? Per day. But what are you risking? You're making 600, but you're still risking what? So now you've put this system in a place where now you begin to scale it. So at 600 per day, you're losing still, you're saying 150, right? And all it takes is for you to be right one day out of the week and wrong one day out of the week. That's it. And then you're a profit. You win one, you lose one, you're in profit. It's that simple. And why this works is because when you have multiple accounts, those 3 accounts that you're copy trading, you still have a max loss limit, and the loss that you take across all those accounts are still the same loss. You're not losing at all on one account. You're only losing 150 on, like, you're only gaining is what I'm trying to get you to understand. You're only gaining more, but you're keeping your risk the same. This is why I copy trade, right? So if it worked at 2 weeks and you got your payout, get your 2 more accounts, do the same thing with 3 accounts. And then what? You do the same thing. At 3 accounts, trade again for another 2 weeks, right? So now you're trading for another 2 weeks. And then guess what? After that 2 weeks, we know the system works. So because the system works, guess what? We're able to get another payout. So after the next 2 weeks, request another payout. Now, with this payout, depends on how much it is. Like with Top Step, when you get a payout, your balance automatically goes to 0. It doesn't trail you anymore. So if you only had 1,000 and you took out 5, well, guess what? Now you only have $500. You lose that 154 days, the account's gone. You get what I'm saying? So I recommend, if your balance isn't where it needs to be after the 2 weeks, work another week, like trade another week, and then withdraw, right? So with this payout, you've proven the system at one account at 200 a day. You've put 2 more accounts behind it, and now you've proved it with 3 accounts at 200 a day, which is now you're making 600 a day. So it's proven across 3 accounts. Like the next thing you do is get 2 more. And I'm gonna show you something. So you get 2 more, and then guess what? Now you're making 200 a day times 5. Guess what? That's your 1K right there. That's your 1K a day. Now, do you stay at this 1K a day? No. There's a time for everything, right? So this is just to get you to understand how to operate like a business and how to go from 0 to 1K per day with the same risk, the same reward, but you just duplicated your reward times 5 now. So now what you were making on one account, you're now making that across 5 accounts. So that's what puts you automatically at 1,000 per day on 5 accounts. And guess what? If you keep your risk the same, you'd only still be losing $150. Like, understand how this works. Small risk, greater reward. So if you was to look at this on the chart, this is what you would see. If you're doing this correctly, this is what you would see. You got your payout, because that's half, and then boom. Just like that. So your first 2 weeks, boom, you get your payout. You can have a little dip in your account. Second 2 weeks, boom, your next payout, you can have a dip. But this paid for 2 more accounts. This paid for this dip right here, paid for 2 more accounts. So now you're at 5 accounts. So if you're scaling horizontally, going sideways, you're only increasing in your profits. But guess what? Every time you take a win, if you lose 150 here, just say your first trade is a loss. If you lose 150, you're negative 150. If your first trade is a loss, you're negative 150, right? Your first 2 trades, I guess I would say. So then guess what? Just say you take some wins. And then at this point, you've won. Just say you went on a win streak for 8 days. 8 times 2, that's 1,600, right? So here you're at 1,600 right here. So at 1,600 you're here, you take your withdrawal, that brings you down where? 800. But you pay for the 2 accounts. So now at 800 on the same system, you just start going again. Keep the same 200 per day. But now guess what? You're going even higher now because you have 3 accounts now. So what took you 8 days to make 1,600 will take you, what, 2 to 3 days to make the same 1,600 that you would have made in 8 days. And you haven't changed nothing. You just duplicate what's working already. But if you are a person who likes to over leverage, then you go here. And guess what? Yes. Can you make a big trade and can you win that big trade? Yes. Are you going to do that every day? No. One thing people don't factor in is the loss. As big as a trade you think you're going to win is as big of a loss that you're actually going to take, potentially, right? So that's how I want you to see this. Like when you're scaling horizontally, every time you take a loss at 150, guess what? If this is the $150 loss, as the market, as your balance goes up, guess what? I take some wins. Now my 150 loss create a lower high, right? Because when we're looking at the chart, like we're on an uptrend, right? That's what we want to be. And our trading account should always be on an uptrend. So when we're constantly making lower highs, guess what? Every time we hit a lower high, boom, you're creating a new high in your trading account because you lost. Okay, boom, but that's a lower high. So that next one you take, that's going to be the next high. So even with our accounts, like you need to treat this like trading, like be on a uptrend. And then you get over here, look at that, you take a 150 loss, this lower high is way higher than that lower high. So I'm just saying, like, really look at this in this fashion. Now, if you are a over leverager, right? I just made that word up. But if you're a person who like to over leverage, guess what? You take this win like this, just like that. If your next win is not this, and you take a loss and you don't know how to manage your trade, guess what? You automatically lose more. And because you lost and you over leverage means you possibly was in your emotions, you're going to try to make all that back. And guess what? You may make this much back and then boom. Then you close that. And if you're a person like me, my motto is if I over leverage, I'm either going to close it or blow it, which means I'm going to close this trade, get out this account, accept what it was, come back the next day, or I'm blowing that account. That's it. That's just how my brain works. So the only way I can actually do this is by not over leveraging. Like I have to stay at a certain micro until my account can hold that type of loss. So eventually, boom, that account's gone. You got to start all over. So the whole point of this is to build a consistent strategy and find something that works. Because once you have what works, and if it works at 200 a day, after you all of these 5 accounts, guess what? Your new zero, right? Your new zero is all of this right here. So now, just say you was at this 800 right here, you can lose $800. So your new zero here is what I think across all 3 accounts, just say if this was 3K. 3K is your new zero. So this is where the scaling plan actually comes in place now. So once you're at $3,000 across all your accounts, minimum, because this account right here, this is going to be higher. This going to be a little bit higher than the 3K. If this is at 3K, this account probably going to be double that or quadruple that, whatever you want to be. And same thing with these accounts. They're going to be somewhere right here. If this is at 3K. So Now this is where the scaling plan comes in. So that was the growth strategy, but now this is like horizontal scaling. Now it's time to go vertically, but you went sideways first to now go up together instead of just going straight up. You get what I'm saying? So how this looks is you're making 200 a day across 5 accounts. And now you got a nice cushion. So just say you wanted to scale up, and instead of making just doubling, just say you wanted to make um what 200, just say you wanted to move up to 300 a day across 5 accounts. And all this is if I'm trading 7 micros, right? So 7, all this is changing this 7 micros to 10. I'm not even doubling my position size. I'm just changing this to 10. And then guess what? I was at what, 1,000 a day here, and now I'm at 1,500 a day, right? And then when you look at this on a weekly basis, if I don't lose, in 1 week this is 7,500, and in 1 week this is 5,000, just like that. So you went from 5,000 to 75 per week without any losses. Obviously, we got to factor in the loss, but I'm just saying for the best case scenario with a winning strategy, just say you're not taking losses. You didn't double your risk. You didn't double your reward. You just brought what you were making up a little bit. And then when your account doubles, guess what? It's going to double way faster. Then you just increase your risk. But guess what? When I'm risking at 150 a day, now instead of risking 300 a day, my risk turns to, it might be 220. It might go from 150 to 220 or 150 to 200, something like that. But guess what? Your wins is still your wins. So that's when the scaling strategy, when the scaling plan actually starts. Oh, I can't even turn this. Okay, whatever. So this is when you start incorporating the scaling plan. So then I want to go from 7 to 10. I might want to go 14 here, right? So at 14, this may put me at about 400, right? To 500 a day times 5. Yeah. And then that's going to put me at, well, let me get an eraser real quick. That's going to put me at 2,500 a day. Right? And that's going to put me at what? Something like that per week. So I hope y'all get the picture, right? Every time your account doubles, scale up. So here you went from 0 to 3K. And from here you went from 3K to 6K. Or I would even say 5K. I'm not gonna say 6K. That's kind of pushing it, because if I'm at 3,000 and I'm making 200 a day, so every 2 weeks, boom, figured it out. Every 2 weeks, scale up. Like keep it in 2-week increments for the whole thing. So from 1 to 3K, if I'm profitable, right? If I'm profitable, then I'm gonna scale up in 2 weeks. Same thing here. Once I'm at 3K, once I'm at 3K, whatever I'm at in 2 weeks, then I'm gonna scale up, right? And then my balance here, just say if what is that? So just say this is at 20. Just say this at 5,000, right? So if my account's at 5,000 at the end of 2 weeks, it's still not double. I need to continue trading. And every 2 weeks, if you're profitable, you should double. So hopefully y'all got the point that I was really looking to make with this video. Put some systems in place, right? Put some systems in place and just make sure that you're just not out here willy-nilly and just trading just because. You get what I'm saying? Because if you're not growing, you're only doing one or two things. You're being stagnant or you're not growing. That's it. You're not getting worse because you're already in the worse off position. So you're just being stagnant or you're not growing, especially starting trading from zero, realistically. So listen, that's all I got for this video. I hope y'all got some value out of that. I will be coming back with more content. Maybe next week, but I'm gonna get this edited, get the audio, make sure everything is crisp, clean for y'all. And we just gonna keep coming with it, man. So hope y'all got some value for this. Like I said, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and we just gonna keep coming with it, man. So until next time, be great.